Super Bowl 60 is officially set following Championship Sunday. Welcome in, everybody. Jarrett Bailey here, the head coach of our program, Todd Haley. Todd, yeah, Championship Sunday, come and gone. One game, elements played a big factor into it. It became a low-scoring slugfest. The other one, very high-scoring, very prolific. It was a tale of two styles of football for both conference championship games.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first game, a lot of general fans are like, that was a boring game. I loved it. I loved when the weather came in and really affected everything that was happening in that game. So I don't mind that. I think, I don't know if the better team won in that, but, if you're talking about 13 days from now in the Super Bowl or whatever it is from now, I think 13 days. Probably the best team got there just from a quarterback standpoint. Even though I don't think Jarrett Stidham was terrible, I don't think Drake May played great. I mean, they called a nice quarterback draw to score, and then the late play to get the first, with the true naked bootleg where you don't tell anybody that you're keeping it. I've been in those situations where I've said, we're calling 39 boss. You're keeping it. Don't tell anybody. I've actually had a player that was standing there and ran out on the field and then told everybody. So, it was a true naked bootleg, big play. But other than that, a real struggle. I think that the Denver defense showed itself. I don't know. I think it's PTSD, Jared. Have been in some of these games, lost them, been in one that I made it on to the Super Bowl. It's just like when that conference championship weekend's over, it's kind of just like a big, now, so it's it's a rematch of Super Bowl a decade ago or whatever it was, Patriots and the Seahawks. I wish it was. I really wish it was the Rams and Seahawks playing a fourth game for the Super Bowl. That would be cool because that was an evenly matched game with a lot of fireworks, a lot of drama. And that how the Rams felt when it was over, that they felt like they let one get away. But the Seahawks made more plays and made less mistakes. Happy for Sam Darnold, but that first game, I enjoyed it. I loved coaching and weather games. It adds an element. Whether you go back to your childhood days, when school let out early and you're on the bus and you're like, where are we playing football? And you go out in the snow and play. So, a great weekend of football. Just like I said, I suffer a little seasonal depression after conference championships.
I think most of us do, where now, over the next 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now, the season's going to be done. And, a few weeks from now, it's going to be the dead of May, and we're going to be like, wow, I would kill to be watching like a 3-win Browns team playing the Falcons on a Thursday night right now. That would be lovely. But we'll start in depth here with the AFC title game. The Broncos started off fast. Jarrett Stidham completed a long pass to Marvin Mims, set him up in the red zone. Then he threw a touchdown to Cortland Sutton. And Denver hops out to a 7-0 lead, and the pressure's immediately on New England. They get a chance though, and this is maybe the turning point of the entire game early on. They get into the red zone, a chance to go up 10-0 and really just put the boot down with that defense and in that environment to go up 2 scores. And instead, Sean Payton, uncharacteristically, maybe I would add, decides to go for it. They run a bootleg out that's pretty well snuffed out by the Patriots. Jarrett Stidham has to throw it into the flat, into tight coverage. It's broken up, and the Patriots take over, and the Broncos didn't score another point the rest of the day. So just your thoughts on that situation. Would you have kicked the field goal? Would you have gone for it? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but just in case I'm wrong, what did you think about the decision to go for it?
Well, it's kind of the in vogue thing, especially with younger head coaches. Sean is not that. Sean has been around, done that. Super Bowl winning coach. I know him very well. I know who he talks to. Bill Parcells being one of those guys, and I just when they got into that situation and they were short, and I'm like, oh no, it's 4th and 1. Please run the kicker out there. Um, I just thought, when you have a backup quarterback playing for the first time in a little over 2 years, in a game of that magnitude, I don't see how 10-0 is a bad thing. And if they convert, I mean, you still don't know that you're going to score a touchdown. You might be kicking a field goal anyway, but I think points are at a premium, especially in the playoffs, especially in conference championship games. And I really was kind of shocked that Sean went that direction. And I get his thoughts. I heard him after the game. I just felt like we had momentum. But again, it's not a 4th and 1 from the 1 where if you convert, you're guaranteed that now you're up, 14 points. It's out in the middle red area. So there's no guarantee if you convert it, what's going to happen after that. So 10-0 with a backup quarterback, and I like Stidham early. I thought he was showing a little swag. He had a little
pep in his step,
little attitude about him, which you, me, and Kurt Warner talked about on here. That it was a great opportunity, and I thought we were seeing some of that. I just that was that was a killer to me. If you go up 10-0 there, weather's coming, which I assume Sean did. I mean, not that he's sitting there looking at a radar on the sideline, but you're getting as a head coach, you're getting a lot of good information from support staff. They'll come up, tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, it's going to start to get really bad here. Some of those things. So I just I didn't feel good about it. And then they get pinned, and Stidham makes the the fatal error, on the just trying to, rather than taking a sack, did something dumb, which is expected. I mean, he hadn't played. It's a big moment. New England's defense really showed up, I thought, and got after him a little bit. So, yeah, I think that was, other than maybe when they lined up for that last kick. Now, I don't know that it was going to go through, but then that gets blocked. So those are two key plays. And as I say all the time on here, games come down to 3, 4, 5 plays. We just nailed 2 of them. Drake May converting, another huge one. That if they'd been able to stop, things might have been different. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing, especially in these close games, that you go back and you watch the tape eventually because your season's over and you're just like, man, this game came down to 3 plays, 3 decisions, whatever they are, and it'll scar you for sure.
Yeah, and the Stidham play where he's getting sacked and he kind of like chest passes it. It looks like it's going forward, but it lands behind where he threw it, so it's a fumble. The Patriots take advantage. Drake May runs it in for a touchdown. They eventually get a field goal as well to make it 10-7, and that ends up being the final score. I mean, you look at Drake May's numbers in this game. I mean, 10 of 21, 86 yards passing. It's bizarre just how little the passing game got going for the Patriots. But to Drake May's credit, there were multiple times where he got big yards on scrambles, and that ended up being the difference for New England. You brought up the naked bootleg at the end where the dictionary definition of a naked, where nobody else knows what's happening. He peels it out to the left, barely gets the first down, and then the Patriots sit on the ball to win. As a coach, are you a little bit concerned about what you've seen from the offense? Because it's not just this game for the Patriots. They didn't look great offensively against the Chargers, didn't look great against Houston, and certainly didn't look great here. Defense is playing incredible, but are you, if you're on the coaching staff right now or just from a coaching lens, are you worried at all about the offense, especially facing the Seahawks in the Super Bowl?
Well, I think, number one, you have to look at who they've played. I mean, they've played, even the Chargers. I don't know where their final ranking was, but you're playing, three of the best defenses in the league, and now you got to play another one, maybe the best. So yeah, I'd be concerned, whoever it was, but especially a second year guy, going into a Super Bowl. I mean, this, it's. I said going into yesterday's game, this is his biggest game of his entire life, and how is he going to handle it? Now this one in 2 weeks is even bigger. So yeah, I think there's got to be concern there, but as I said, I think Sean Payton and Mike Vrabel, having been around Mike and Sean, you could quickly see in that game that they kind of had a pretty good feel for how the game was going to go. It was going to be a low-scoring slugfest. Don't make mistakes, and that's why the decision by Sean was kind of shocking to me, because he even started running the football right out of the gate, which I think I said on here, I think we'll see him be a little aggressive with safe passes, just to give a little confidence. So that told me, how they started that first series, running the football into the line and getting nothing, and ended up in a 3rd and 10, that Sean understood, this was going to be a tight one. I think Mike Vrabel the same. You saw a lot of runs. I don't know what the final you made a great point with Drake May. I think he might have. Did he run for more yards than he threw for?
Let me get it pulled up and I'll let you know. But I think it's probably pretty close.
65 and threw for 80 something. But yeah, I mean, huge part of that game was his ability to make plays with his feet.
All right, so let's see here. Drake May on the day, 65 yards rushing, 86 yards passing, sacked 5 times. Like, the Broncos defense got after it, obviously, when you only scored 10 points, and that one touchdown coming from a turnover where the offense is set up inside the red zone. I mean, it was an admirable job by the Broncos. And, the circumstances obviously were unforeseen, where Bo Nix gets hurt in the waning moments of the win over Buffalo, and so you have to turn to Stidham. It's just a very rare occurrence. And now, you look around, if you're Denver, and you remember Dan Campbell a few years ago, very forthright, was like, yeah, this might be our only shot. I don't think that Denver's just going to fade into obscurity, but when you look at just how loaded the conference is, like, when's the next time Patrick Mahomes is going to miss the postseason? When's the next time that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are going to miss the postseason? This may have been as good a chance as you can get if you are Denver. And that might be a little bit of a hard pill to swallow going forward, especially when looking back at, the decision-making in big moments.
Yeah, you don't know when you're going to get another opportunity. You really don't. I mean, it's so hard to win. It's so hard to get to those games yesterday, let alone, win it and then have a chance to, win a Super Bowl. You just don't know. You think, especially young players, think, Dan Marino, going back to when he was a young player, when he lost the Super Bowl early in his career, you think he didn't think I'm going to have a ton of opportunities to do this. But, guys like Sean Payton, Mike Vrabel, they get it. They understand that how hard it is and how many things you got to do right. But, I think Mike Vrabel, how he prepared his young team that was in a spot that nobody would have thought when the season started we'd be talking about the Patriots right now. But, you saw within that game what good coaching means. Situational plays, determine how these games end, and his ability, throughout that game, especially, multiple situations I saw, and I heard him say, I told the players the night before the game, situations are going to come up, but I promise you, either we've already had them and handled them, or we practiced them. And, that's a Bill Parcells trait. I mean, there wasn't a practice. I was a part of his staff that we didn't have a situational period. And you'd be like, I'm a young coach. I'm like, we're doing this. Why are we doing this? And then sure enough, in a game during the season, the situation would come up. So I learned very early. And then even when I was coaching Mike, and he had come from Bill Belichick, who is a disciple of Parcells, they were doing it, and we practice situations all the time. And he I think Mike even came to me a couple times, hey, we probably should hit this one if whatever the situation, and in case it comes up. And I'm like, you're right, Mike, and we'd put a period in and work that situation. So everybody's not doing that, but I know Sean Payton's doing it. I know Mike Vrabel's doing it. And I think the Patriots just were the better prepared team throughout the as that game wore on. I mean, they just handled every situation really, really well.
And another thing for Denver that surprised me was the lack of running the ball. They only ran the ball 24 times in the game, threw it 31. I believe they only ran it 7 times in the second half, which is bizarre to think about. So with the situation that you have, I'm just surprised that they didn't lean a little bit more into the run game and put as much on Stidham's plate as they did.
Yeah, I am too. I got to believe kind of the fear of how early in the game running trying to dedicate yourself to the run led to some 3rd and longs. I'm surprised we didn't see a little more activity from Stidham. I mean, he ran a couple times, but there were a couple situations in that game where I'm like, run, and he tried to throw the football down the field in more difficult conditions. So, but again, that's not a surprise to me. Jarrett Stidham, I think, would have been a great story, but you're still talking about a guy that's playing for the first time in 2 years, and is a backup for a reason. Now, he's a quality backup, I believe, but this is an extreme situation. Now you throw the weather into it. I would have thought they would have tried to continue to run it a little bit, but that didn't happen, and now you got to kind of live in your regrets a little bit, I think.
Let's go to the NFC title game now, where I got to say, the Seahawks, genuinely speaking, are making me rethink how I view football. Because coming into the season, I was pretty down on Seattle. I was like, all right, I didn't understand what they were doing in the offseason. You trade away Geno Smith, who had been successful, led you to 10 wins last season. And it felt like they were kind of hitting a soft reset. And I was like, all right, that makes sense. Try to find a quarterback of the future, maybe find some young pieces. They moved off DK Metcalf as well. And then they signed Sam Darnold to a 3-year deal, that wasn't a cheap deal by any means. They signed Cooper Kupp when you had JSN, who up until this season had really been prioritized as a slot guy. That's, what Cooper Kupp's role has been. I just didn't get a lot of these moves that they made. And then, Sam plays incredible for most of the season. In the back half of the year was a little bit more inconsistent, but won 14 games again and joined a very rare class of guys who have done that. And unfair or not, my whole thing with the Seahawks was, but Sam Darnold's their quarterback. I just don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl team. And even as late as Friday, when we recorded talking about these games, I was saying, I think the Rams just have the advantage quarterback wise, weapons wise, and it's still Sam Darnold. And then Sam Darnold goes out and goes 25 of 36, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a QBR of 82.9, like plays his butt off. So I got to take a step back and admit when I was wrong. I was very wrong about Seattle. John Schneider did an incredible job of putting together this team in the offseason. And Sam Darnold has proven himself that he's not just a lightning in the bottle kind of guy. He's proven himself as, a capable franchise quarterback who, might need some pieces around him. But again, we've talked about it before. If you're not one of these 3 to 5 elite guys, you're always going to need the right structure in place. When he's had the right structure in place, he's been a very good quarterback. And again, the Seahawks, the way that they've gone about building their roster around this quarterback and the way that he's played, it's made me rethink how I view certain things with the game. So credit to them for that.
Oh, you can't give enough credit to Mike McDonald, number one.
Yeah.
John Schneider, you throw in Rashid Shaheed being picked up midseason. I mean, what a great get that was. I mean, and they try to hit him deep early. I mean, that has an effect on a defense. When a guy with that type of speed. I mean, he ran by that corner like it was nothing, for a big play.
Mm-hmm.
So that addition midseason was a genius move, in my opinion. You get huge return last week. You get a huge return at the end of the regular season. and Shaheed's been a huge addition, but the defense is really tough to deal with. Now I know that you can't just go crazy because the Rams did, they put up a bunch of yards,
Yeah, I mean,
400,
Stafford had a big day
almost
too.
500 yards. So, I think we had a lot of talk about Sam and the exercising demons, and this was another step for him. Wow, he did it in such incredible fashion. When he's going toe to toe with Matthew Stafford, who was played a phenomenal game also. Ultimately in this game, it wasn't about refs, it wasn't about weather. It was the big muff punt was huge. And then
what was going on there, by the way? If you're you're Sean McVay in this situation, you see that happen. What are you doing?
You want to kill the guy.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's putting it on the line, but it's a very difficult job. But special teams has kind of been their bugaboo throughout the year. I mean, they changed special teams coaches, they changed kickers. It's just amazing to have a really good defense, a really good offense, and then special teams get you beat ultimately. So, but a great game. I mean, hard. You feel for the Rams and Matthew Stafford. What's going to happen with him? Is he going to come back and play? I mean, he probably is the MVP of the league. So, and he made it through the season healthy for the most part. So that was huge. But when these games end and you think you're going to play again, it ends so suddenly. There's so many emotions, so much, just hurt. Your heart hurts. I mean, I feel for the Rams. They're in that building today, and they know that they got to do year-end physicals and clean out their lockers. The coaches are meeting with them, and that the team is not going to be the same. A team that you love, there's going to be changes that happen, and the room is never going to look the same that it looked throughout this year, as you prepared to play in that game yesterday. So, hats off to Sam Darnold. I mean, I said it wasn't necessarily fair that he had to exercise the demons, but, it's just life in the NFL. When you have a early part of his career like he had, his fault or not his fault or a little bit of both, probably more than likely, you got to go through this process of as Kurt Warner said on here the other day that if you want to be talked about as one of those quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that anybody would give anything for, because every week, no matter what else is going on, you got a chance to win. You had to go out and have a performance like this, and he did it. So, like I said, I'm really happy for Sam. Got to know him really well through the process when I was with the Browns, and we had the number one pick. And all those Josh Allens and Lamars and Darnolds and Rosens were coming out. Got to know him well, so really happy for him.
Yeah, I saw somebody had posted, maybe it was FanDuel the account who posted it, but saying that Cooper Kupp going from leading the Rams to helping the Rams win a Super Bowl a few years ago to now playing one of their biggest rivals and helping them get to the Super Bowl. 4 catches, 36 yards, and a touchdown for him. And that's not the sexiest stat line of all time, but the touchdown, which is obviously instrumental, and that late first down with very few time remaining. And you got to remember, they didn't have to get rid of him. They chose to cut him. And it was very a weird public thing last year where he put out a statement saying, the Rams informed me that, we're going to go our separate ways. He very clearly did not want to leave. And if you roll out a receiving core of Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and Cooper Kupp, maybe we're having a different conversation right now. So that I think will loom somewhat large in the head of Les Snead and company in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it at a really high level. Sean, their entire front office has done it different ways and had success. We know they didn't have draft picks for a long time, but they, through free agency, they did it. So, sometimes you got to make some of those tough decisions. I'm a huge Cooper Kupp fan, but obviously he's kind of at the back end. He was having trouble staying healthy, but it's a feel-good story. He gets to go home. He's a Washington kid, play for the Seahawks, who he probably rooted for when he was a younger guy. I love the moment, Jared. After the game, I don't know if you saw it, where he and Puka Nacua
Yeah.
were. I mean, it was a genuine embrace, hug. You could tell the feelings that Puka had for him, and he has for Puka, because he was kind of Puka's mentor. So,
Mhm.
now he gets to go home and get to play in another Super Bowl. I mean, the story ended well, at least for Cooper Kupp, and that's one of the guys you really like to root for.
Yeah, one of the the big things with the Rams when Puka was a rookie was that, Stafford and Cup would go in early, a few days a week. I think it was, or it might have been the Monday, where they would both come in at like 6 a.m. Puka caught wind of it and said, "Hey, mind if I join in on these?" And that's where, their chemistry and their bond really
Yeah.
started, was him joining those two in those early meetings. So he's been very outspoken about his love for Cup, and vice versa with Cup to Puka. So that was really nice. Stafford and Cup embraced at the end of the game, and Stafford told him, like, go get yourself another Super Bowl. It's stuff like that, man, where it's just really cool to see. And with the Seahawks team as a whole, well coached, like you said, with Mike McDonald, and now we go into a Super Bowl with a coach in his second year with the team, a coach in his first year with the team. It's incredible just how quickly turnarounds can happen in the NFL, where the Seahawks and Patriots both were not in the postseason last year, and now they're playing in the Super Bowl.
Unbelievable.
It's so rare that being the case, but it's very refreshing to see, a team in New England that's not the same Patriots dynasty it was before. It's a whole new core of guys with a new head coach. It's a much more likable team, if we're, being frank, and a Seahawks team that has a redemption story at quarterback. It's very cool to see.
Yeah, and it's why some of these owners are firing head coaches at such a incredible clip, because they see some of these things happen. But for it to happen, you got to have that quarterback piece in place. You got to have a really good general manager that's scouring the waiver wire and trade wire to try to figure out how to build that roster. It takes everything. It's not just a one man show any way you cut it. So, I do get disappointed when some of these, how do the Tennessee Titans feel, Jared? I mean,
Mm.
they fired Mike Vrabel, and when that happened, I'm like, what? The guy's had success. He's done it with different quarterbacks. He didn't have that true quarterback piece that gives you a chance to every week. So how do they feel? And, now having to watch Mike Vrabel take the Patriots to the Super Bowl in a couple weeks.
You got to also think about, like, how do the Buffalo Bills feel? Where, you remember a few years ago, they hosted the Patriots in a playoff game. Josh Allen had as perfect a game as you possibly can. They scored every time they touched the ball. And if you would have told a Bills fan at that time, yeah, but the Patriots are still going to make it back to the Super Bowl before you get to one with Josh Allen, I mean, that's got to be just an absolute dagger in their side. And that's the unfortunate reality of it for them. And I'm sure that there's a lot of, just head and palms right now saying, if we had just
Sean
beaten
McVay with the call sheet.
right. Yeah. Like, I'm sure that there's a lot of sitting right now and thinking, like, my goodness, if we had just protected the ball just a little bit better, if, just one bounce had gone our way that didn't, we'd probably be in the Super Bowl right now. And not for nothing, I was told by a reliable person that at the trade deadline, Rashid Shaheed was about to be a Bill. And the Seahawks came in very last minute, gave him a better offer. The Bills didn't have time to counteroffer because it was at the 11th hour. So Rashid Shaheed heads to Seattle. And it's just little things like that get away, that end up really changing the course of a season. And for Buffalo, I mean, for them, that's just unfortunately been, the story of their life.
Wow. I said, how does Tennessee feel, organizationally? How
Mhm.
does Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson feel? Now, now Sam Darnold, but, is going to be playing a Super Bowl before they did. So that's what makes sports great. It's what makes the NFL the greatest sport, in my opinion, as much as I love hockey. But it's those kind of things, like you said, the little things that if you miss on something, it could be an injury. you know, I've talked about with you when we were up there in the conference championship game against the Patriots. I mean, you know how many times I've thought Le'Veon Bell had to pull a hamstring on the first series. You know, and he was such a dynamic part of our game plan that day and all those things. So, you know, there's things that are out of your control sometimes. Sometimes when they're in your control, it's even more painful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up Lamar, like that entire class. It's crazy to look back, especially with how things started with Sam Darnold in New York and going to Carolina, San Francisco, Minnesota last year, and now his fifth team. He gets to the Super Bowl before anybody else in that class. It's bizarre just how certain.
Yeah, Baker too. I'll throw Lamar, Baker, and Josh in there.
Yeah, it's just
didn't mean to exclude him.
Yeah, no, it's just weird how the dice rolls sometimes in the NFL. And again, though, it is very refreshing to see again a Patriots team that the whole thing for a while was, oh my goodness, the Patriots are always here. But this isn't Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. It's a young Drake May. It's Mike Vrabel in his first year with the team, and a bunch of homegrown pieces. But also they spent money in free agency this season, or this last offseason, and it's really paid off. So fun to see. Frankly speaking, I'm just very happy that the Chiefs, the Eagles, we don't have to watch another Super Bowl with either of those teams in it. And for parity's sake, it's good to see in that regard.
Yeah, and I think the other interesting thing is you're probably way too young, Jarrett, but Matt Collins being out there with the Bottles Warriors come out and play. That is a cult classic from when I was a young guy. We watched that every weekend, me and my buddies, the street gangs in New York. But Mike Vrabel did that. He showed them the movie, and then you got a player coming out. And now Matt Collins is I really enjoy watching him. Just his personality, but he's doing it. And then you hear Mike Vrabel saying Warriors. When I was in Pittsburgh, I'd always I'd make videos for the Steelers, and now I'm gonna forget his name, but don't panic. I'd put that song in every video I showed him when we won. And then you had Ben saying, we just don't panic. When you do those little things, and Mike Vrabel did it, you got Mike McDonald with "We're going to take you to the dark side." You find any little thing you can find to motivate your team. The Patriots haven't lost on the road, so the road Warriors makes a lot of sense. But when you put it all together and the players start believing and get it, it can be the difference maker for you.
It can be. Before we go, we'll touch on some head coaching news. Grant Udinski, the Jaguars offensive coordinator, has removed himself from the Browns head coach candidacy.
Seems to be the
popular thing to do, huh? Mike McDaniel and Jesse Minter pulled out. Jesse Minter now obviously the head coach in Baltimore. Mike McDaniel agreed to be the offensive coordinator of the Chargers, but still is in the pool of guys who could maybe get head coaching jobs.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah. It's very much like, I mean, I like you, but also there's other.
There might be something better.
Yeah. So, in terms of Cleveland, they're also going to Los Angeles to interview their pass game coordinator Nate Scheelhaus for their head coaching job. Cleveland's still in a weird spot right now. Did you see that they're you might be able to weigh in on this much better than I, but they're making candidates take like certain tests and whatnot. Is that the norm in the NFL? Like what's going on?
Yeah, you have to, I don't think that's out of line. Okay. I mean, you get a little, but I mean, it's not like it's taxing your brain. It's just one of those psychological things. I don't think that's out of the realm of, or goes into the realm of weirdness. I think it's, but with Cleveland, you never know. I mean, there's so many voices in that building. I did want to say this, getting off Cleveland, because I don't like talking about them a whole bunch, but how'd you feel about Chris Shula after that game? I mean, there were a number of major errors defensively, and these guys their name gets going. Everybody's talking about them, and they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm like, this guy, we're having complete breakdowns and letting JSN go uncovered.
There was that one play where they had JSN lined up at running back, and they had him, and I want to say it was Shaheed kind of like intersect on like a scissor concept that completely lost JSN wide open in the end zone. It's like, all right, man. So I'm sure a lot of Steelers fans, myself included, were like, all right, maybe they dodged a bit of a bullet in Chris Shula.
You might have. Other Steeler fans, not quite as with the football knowledge, are probably still saying we got Mike McCarthy and we could have had this guy. But that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah. Phillip Rivers also pulling out of the Bills head coaching race. They interviewed him last week. Obligatory. That's the first time Phillip Rivers has pulled out of anything joke. There you go. I'm intrigued on what his maybe coaching career could look like, because from what I was told, they would like him on the staff in some way, shape, or form. But if he doesn't want to do that, then, God bless him or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up, if not on the Bills staff, somebody's staff as, senior offensive assistant, quarterbacks coach, something of that like.
We talked about this a little bit. I mean, would he have a chance to be a great head coach? Absolutely. But that's not all there is to it. I mean, you're talking about a guy with a ton of kids, a great family man, and it's why, I know I always reference Parcells, even Mike Tomlin, but when you got former players that you think have that in them, you want to see them go through the process of climbing the ranks, just so that they're fully in and they understand what the job entails, that it's not 9 to 5. I mean, these are 15, 18-hour days every single day, 7 days a week. So in season at least, but even in the off season, I mean, it doesn't stop. So I think, for him, he's probably living a great life. Great story of the year with him coming back and playing after 5 years. I think he'd be a great head coach. I'm sure he's a great high school coach. But, when you get really great former players that then you ask him, I told you this. I asked Kurt when I got the head coaching job with the Chiefs, you want to come help me? He's like, I'd love to, but I ain't putting in that kind of time. Sure. So I think that's why, head coaches that have coached players, they like them, they believe in them. Mike Vrabel, for instance, he didn't just go from playing to, being a coordinator or a head coach. I mean, he kind of went through the process and made the steps you have to make to get into those situations where you have a chance to be a coordinator and then a head coach. So, I think with Phillip, I'd be torn. I'm like, I know he'd be really good, but is he going to be a guy that is willing to put in all those hours when you talk about the family man he is?
Yeah, and as we're recording, by the way, Diana Rossini reports that Mike McDaniel did agree to become the Chargers offensive coordinator. So he's not going anywhere. He will be the offensive coordinator in Los Angeles. That feels like a weird dynamic with him and Jim Harbaugh now.
Yeah, it's polar opposites, him and Greg Roman and really him and Coach Harbaugh. But he is a really bright offensive coach. I think probably stronger in that area where he's not having to be the leader of the entire team. But he's smart. He understands. I look at him, I look at plays and designs and things he does, and I'm like, wow, that's really unique. Now, ultimately, you got to be the most physical team and still be able to do some of those things. So I think that's where it's going to be fun to watch kind of how that plays out there, because Harbaugh is one way. We're going to run the football. We're going to play defense. We're going to be smarter than the other team. And then all of a sudden you're going to see the, guys running around left, right, over the top, orbit motions. So it'll be interesting.
The Steelers announced that they will introduce Mike McCarthy tomorrow in a press conference at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So team president Art Rooney II, general manager Omar Khan will introduce Mike McCarthy. I'm excited to see what he says. Pittsburgh guy, loves the area. I'm sure this was his dream job, being from Pittsburgh. There's been a lot of pushback from Steelers fans. myself included to a degree. You know, like I said, there were other candidates that were maybe a little bit younger that would have been a little bit more of a fresh voice, but you could certainly do worse than Mike McCarthy. I'm excited to see what he has to say tomorrow. And again, what is more than likely, I would assume, his dream job, and took the year off in 2025 after 5 seasons with Dallas. We'll see what he does this season with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I can, tell you from my perspective. When I got the coordinator job with the Steelers, it was my dream job to be able to go back to Pittsburgh. Now, I even had a closer tie, with my father being there forever. But yeah, it's got to be a dream job. I thought Willie Colon on NFL Network today, Kyle Brandt was really pushing back. He said it's like eating day-old meatloaf, and Willie reminded everybody, listen, Mike Tomlin stepped aside. The Steelers didn't get rid of him. So now that you got to pivot, you got to figure out what is the best guy for the situation we're in. And I would just say you get all excited about these young, hot names, but you don't always know what you're getting. At least with Mike, you know what you're getting. You're getting a quality coach that knows how to stand in front of a team, knows how to handle the media. The question again is, you got to find that quarterback piece. How are you doing that? Yeah. If you find one, he's a guy that is quite capable of developing and getting a guy better.
Yeah, and I'm writing a little bit of an in-depth thing right now for Behind the Steel Curtain, pros and cons that come with Mike McCarthy. Check that out when it goes live. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe. If you're listening as a podcast, be sure to comment, review. In the off season, this is going to be we're going to keep this thing rolling full steam ahead. Todd's going to he's going to put on his reading glasses and open a storybook for us a few times a week, just digging back into a lengthy coaching career where we'll dive deep into some stories that he has to tell. So that'll be one of our focal points of the off season, at least once, maybe twice a week, just kind of a story time episode for everybody to kind of go down memory lane and learn some things that you didn't know. So a lot of stuff coming from Todd and I, so be sure to subscribe, be sure to keep up.
You want to do the old school pump fake, or you want to do the?
I think
I like the old school, like a full, like.
Yeah, I mean, growing up a Steelers fan, obviously, Ben just had the most outrageous one where he wouldn't just do it once; he'd do it like 6 times while he's pointing and doing this, directing people. So Mike Tomlin went on his podcast a couple years ago, and he had a really funny joke that he told me. He's like, when you started doing this, and then he started doing this with it, it's like, oh my God, what is he doing? But good things usually happened when he was doing it. So yeah, I'm a more of a fan of the old school one.
Yeah, go full old school.
Absolutely. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. We will be back later on in the week, and we'll talk to you then.